Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. I am the Kilter Blacksmith, and this is going to be the quench. So, part 3 of my short spear series. I'm going to be quenching, tempering, and finishing, hopefully, this short spear. So, it is the 4th of July as I film this. I prefer to forge, not die. Thank you, Will Stelter, for the awesome shirt. And if you don't know the story behind this, this is very similar to or patterned after the join or die sign that Benjamin Franklin made for recruiting in the American War for Independence, 1775. So, on that note, let's let freedom ring and temper this spear. Heat treating. So, what's the plan? So, the plan, it goes as follows. I'm going to heat up the head of the spear. I'm not going to quench the whole spear. So just the head, sharp bits, and a little bit behind that. And kind of feather in the temper to the softer steel in the back. So I'm going to heat that up, let it cool. I'm going to do that 3 times. That's called normalizing. It basically loosens up the crystalline structure of the steel and allows it to get a better temper. Reduces the grain size as well. Once I do that, I'm also heating up another piece of steel, a piece of mild steel that I can quench without a problem. That piece of steel is going into my quench tank, and that will reduce the viscosity of the oil, which is canola oil, and also heat up the oil. And that will also produce a better quench. So right now I'm getting, both of them are in the forge, both are heating up, and once the spear reaches critical temperature, about 1700 degrees or so, I'll pull it and let it cool slowly, just air cool, and that'll be the first normalizing cycle. After I go through all the cycles, heat up the oil, quench the spear, let it cool, and then I'm going to grind the flats of the bevels, and then I'm going to do a flame temper. Because I'll take this benzomatic torch, and I'll use it and I'll heat up the center of the blade and let the heat propagate to the edges, and those will temper the edges, leaving a somewhat soft middle of the spear with harder edges. So that'll give it the toughness I need, edge hardness that I need. Let that get up to critical for the first normalizing cycle, and let's crack on. Oil has been heated, I think, to about what it needs to be. I just threw the spear back in the forge to heat up for the second normalizing cycle. I'm going to do 3 of those, and then we quench. Quench was successful. It's cooling down right now, and then I will grind the flats a little bit, just kind of scuff them up so I can see the colors, and then I will flame temper. It has been tempered, so I got it a little warm right about here, but that's okay. It's not a big deal, so just a nice, except for that little hot spot, a nice even straw, dark straw color, and that will do very nicely for edge retention and toughness. Now to finishing. I was goofing around with it, throwing it at a tree, and it worked beautifully. Kind of getting the idea of how it's supposed to be thrown. It's not bad. Yeah. So now I know what I need to do. I need to grind this to a point, and I need to reheat treat this because the grain size is huge and very rough. So I saw the same kind of grain size when I did my test knife. Let me show you that to you. I did a whole write-up on this on Facebook and Instagram. The grain is very large, which is not ideal. It's actually a little smaller than this. I actually intentionally broke this knife to see how good my heat treat was. And it's actually pretty good for edge retention, but terrible when it comes to bending because just a little bit of pressure and it popped. So there's that. Grind this down, and I'll check in back when that's done. I'll have to reheat treat this. Not fun. Oh well. Alright, reground the tip. That didn't take long. And now I get to go heat treat again. I went through the heat treat cycles again. I normalized it probably 4 times. I noticed there was a slight warp in it. Straightened that. Normalized it again. Quenched it. Noticed the thing went like that. So I normalized it again. Went through the whole process. So it's time essentially triple quenched now. So I'm going to let that cool. I'm going to throw back on this grinder. Polish it up nicely. Finish up the brass scales. Get those all purdy. And rivet it onto the spear itself.